have a feeling that we're gearing up for a 25th of May, which may be incredibly exciting.
Ireland is preparing for a vote that will divide the country.
It's very real.
Can you not see it?
In this traditionally Catholic country, abortion is still illegal. The issue has bitterly divided Irish society for 35 years.
Abortion will be legalised in this country very soon.
Although later referendums eased the law slightly, a near total ban on abortion remains in place. In 2012, Savita Halappanavar died of complications during pregnancy. She had requested an abortion, but was refused. Her death reignited the debate. A new referendum will be held on May the 25th. Two polarised camps are now competing for votes. Pro-choice supporters who favour a more liberal, secular Ireland.
This is a hugely important time for Ireland to look at what we're about really as a country and how we value people's lives.
And pro-life supporters who want to safeguard Conservative legislation.
This is, a very definitive referendum. It's one which will decide whether Ireland keeps its culture or will have a massive shift in its culture on abortion.
Ireland is voting on the 8th Amendment to its constitution, in which the state acknowledges the right to life of the unborn and with due regard to the equal right to life of the mother. It's one of Europe's most restrictive abortion laws, banning terminations in all circumstances except when a mother's life is at risk. The 8th Amendment was introduced in 1983 after 67% of Irish voters supported it in a referendum backed by the Catholic Church. Alva Smith is a veteran pro-choice activist. She campaigned against the introduction of the 8th Amendment in 1983 and has fought for the liberalisation of Ireland's abortion laws ever since.
1983 was a much more brutal and violent campaign. Ireland was truly a different country then. The country I grew up in was much more oppressive, it was much more judgmental. We were regularly called baby killers, murderers. The 8th Amendment was really the thorn in the flesh of my own adult life.
The Catholic Church opposes abortion, but its influence in Ireland has waned in recent years. A series of sexual abuse and other scandals has led many to question the Church's moral authority. Since the early 1990s, the number of church-attending Catholics has fallen and attitudes have liberalised. In 2015, almost 2/3 of Irish voters endorsed the referendum proposal to legalise same-sex marriage.
Ireland has moved on, it's just a different country to what it was.
But the issue of abortion remains divisive. The referendum on May the 25th will be close. Polls show the support to repeal the 8th Amendment stands at around 50%. Niamh Bhríon has campaigned to retain the 8th Amendment and Ireland's ban on abortion since the early 1990s.
The 8th Amendment protects the right to life of unborn children. If you take it away out of the Constitution, the people will never get to vote on our abortion laws again.
In this referendum campaign, the Church has taken a back seat. Instead, pro-life groups, presenting themselves as non-denominational, are leading the charge to retain the current law.
I think there are probably three key points to the debate. The first one is that abortion kills a baby, and the evidence for that, of course, is absolute and overwhelming. The second, I think, is the evidence that shows that abortion hurts women, is that very often women are coerced into having abortions and that it leaves them with deep sadness and regret. And I think the third point is that people understand that if we want to have a pro-life culture in this country, we need to save the 8th Amendment.
Not the church, no!
But pro-choice campaigners argue that the 8th Amendment does not reduce the number of abortions. Each year, over 3,500 women travel from Ireland to Britain for a termination. And it's estimated that up to 2,000 women purchase abortion pills online.
3,500 women going to Britain for an abortion every year makes me feel very wretched and deeply, at a very profound level, ashamed that, you know, I'm part of a society which says, actually, we don't really care what happens to women.
Ireland's ruling party is allowing its politicians a free vote on the issue. Prime Minister Leo Varadkar is backing repeal and has gone one step further, proposing the right to a termination up to the 12th week of pregnancy if the referendum passes.
Now, we already have abortion in Ireland, but it's unsafe, unregulated and unlawful. And in my opinion, we cannot continue to export our problems.
They're saying that you can have abortion on demand for the first 3 months of pregnancy. So that's abortion for any reason at all or no reason. And I think this is an extraordinary change for Irish culture, because we've traditionally had a culture which protected the mother and the baby.
There's a kind of myth out there that you wake up some morning and say, I'm going to have an abortion. Where does this come from? It comes from a fundamental disrespect for women. It's a denial of women's right to be fully functioning citizens and members of the state. I would never, ever second guess the people of Ireland in a referendum. I hope we can win. I believe we can win.
But I'm confident that they're going to vote in a progressive and compassionate way to save the 8th Amendment.
The vote to repeal the 35-year law will determine whether Ireland continues on its journey to becoming a more secular society.